Days of anxiety and cancelled flights, meaning lots and lots of troubles for passengers. Today was the day when SpiceJet normalized their flight operations and they claimed that they resumed all their flights. 230 of them flew out today. But we're today on agenda asking a much larger question. Are all troubles over? And what does it mean for all of us as passengers? In fact, with a special panel, we also bring you an audience of young people who wanted to get into the aviation industry. What does this crisis in the aviation sector mean for them? So we are really talking about what's happened now, and our first talking point is SpiceJet heading the Kingfisher way? Let me just introduce our panel here this evening. We have over here industry expert, chairman of Stick Travels. We have Subhash Goel. We also have Amit Bhatt. He's the head of Embark India, another transport expert. And joining us from Mumbai, we have Jitendra Bhargav. He's the former director of Air India. We also have some young pilots here with us who are really going to talk about the industry, because a lot of them haven't actually been able to, despite it being a supposedly booming industry, they haven't been able to get jobs. So we'll be speaking to them in just a bit. But really, the first question, is SpiceJet heading the Kingfisher way? Mr. Bhargav, do you think so?
Well, all parallels, as you look at the situations, are heading in that direction. Whether it's curtailment of flights, reduction in fleet size, cancellation of flights, not paying to aircraft leasing companies, oil companies, airports, employees, etc. But I only wish the end is different for SpiceJet, because the country cannot afford an airline going under. There have been chaotic situations at the airport because they've sold tickets. So it's my feeling that government has also accentuated through not monitoring the airline properly. I believe a mechanism needs to be put in place, and should have been done after the Kingfisher demise, that the moment an airline defaults on making payment to any of the persons, the monitoring should start. In this situation, we allowed SpiceJet to sell tickets at ridiculously low fares of rupee 1, 699, 999, etc. And imagine the fate of those people who were tempted by those offers, bought tickets. Where are they today? Now, airline industry is very clear. Let me explain. Many airlines have been through this kind of a situation. But what these airlines have done is to have behaved in a more mature manner. On the other side, SpiceJet behaved amateurishly. They started selling tickets, started chasing market share. In this such situation, the first priority should have been profitability. So I would say government policies and SpiceJet's own behavior has compounded the problem.
Okay, I think Mr. Subhash Goel over here has a much more optimistic view of things.
Yeah, I always believe that if a man is diseased, that's no reason to kill him. And let not the media or the government kill SpiceJet, because this nation cannot afford to see another disaster. When Kingfisher went down, on television interviews, and I had suggested to the government that we should have an aviation policy which will accelerate domestic aviation growth. And for that, the first thing was that domestic airlines should also get fuel at the same rates at which international airlines get. Because domestic airlines are getting fuel 25 to 30% more than what international airlines are getting. So that is one. And when you calculate the DOC, which is the direct operating cost of an aircraft, fuel plays a very important role.
But why do you think, no sir, but why do you think, tell us specifically, why do you think it's not going the Kingfisher way? Why are you optimistic about SpiceJet?
No, I'm an optimistic person.
Yeah.
And I will try my level best and an industry spokesman to prevail upon the government that we must save this airline. First is that the passengers who are stranded, yesterday I told another TV channel that there is a system in IATA that all tickets have to be endorsed on face value, on space available basis.
Yeah.
No airline is flying 100% occupancy. So if Jet Air has 20 seats empty,
Okay.
they should accept these tickets. If Air India has 50 seats empty, they should accept these passengers,
Yeah.
so that the holiday. Secondly, what I had suggested is that there should be a fund which when a person buys a ticket, maybe 100 rupees go towards that fund.
Okay.
And if there are 15,000 passengers traveling in a year, 15 million passengers, then crores of rupees can be kept as the fund, and that fund should come to the rescue of the staff which is working in these airlines.
Okay, that's an interesting
and
idea.
that should also come to the rescue of the passengers.
Okay, that's an interesting idea, sir, but I just want to bring it back. One of the points that you made was about the stranded passengers. And just to point out, it is holiday season, as you mentioned again. Everyone wants to travel home for Christmas, for New Year's. And if you look at the fares today, a lot of sectors, they've really grown up. For instance, one of the fares actually mentioned today said that a Delhi-Mumbai sector today it was costing upwards of 25,000. So that's where I want you to come in, Amit Bhatt. Is this where we all lose out? That we are now going to see those days of cheap flights are now over?
So one is that we have to understand transportation business per se, and this is not only about aviation sector, has some very peculiar nature. And one of the most peculiar nature of transportation industry is that it has a very long gestation period. And so if you are looking at 10, 15, 20 year horizon, one thing we need to have very clearly is to have a strong and a coherent policy. And unless we have this, there's bound to be issues.
So are we going to have raised fares now?
So what we need to first understand is, typically when there is a stress in the supply of services, the first reaction which comes from service provider is to
raise the fares.
Increase the fare or decrease the services. And
so how long will this last? That's what we all want to know.
So what we have seen, for example, from other sectors,
yeah,
decrease in services leads to loss in confidence, which in turn further decreases services, and this becomes a downward spiral, and ultimately it's a disaster.
The solution to the problem is, yes, a long-term transparent aviation policy which will accelerate growth. Secondly, we should not allow airline to cartelize and loot the passengers.
When are we going to see cheaper fares again, sir? That's what we want to know.
That's what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
If you can fix the taxi fare of a poor taxi driver from airport to the hotel, fix it 20% more than what it is.
That's what the government should do.
Why can't the government fix a fare? Let us say the Delhi-Bombay operating cost of the airline is 4,000 rupees. You fix the maximum limit, double the amount, 10,000 rupees.
Okay.
But you should not allow any airline to exploit the consumer and do black marketing.
So I think I would not agree to this, because there is a equilibrium between cost and revenue, and fare into number of passenger is equal to total revenue, and sum of total cost is your total cost. Now, minimum you have to balance your cost to the revenue, right?
Okay.
So there are two ways of doing it. One is either you increase the capacity and increase the fare to increase the revenue, or you look at your cost structure also. And somehow we have missed the bus is in terms of looking at the cost structure.
What's worrying what's worrying is neither of you are telling us when the fares are going to go down. Now I want to bring to the human side of things. These are young people. Our whole audience over here are people who are watching things very, very closely because they're hoping to get into the industry. And remember, aviation was always promised as the new booming sector. Young pilots over here who are joining us, Deepak Bhardwaj, Prateek Sharma and Kanwar Singh. Tell us, Deepak, you haven't been able to get a job for 6 years now. What does the SpiceJet news mean for you?
Yeah, I would say first of all, there are thousands of pilots who are unemployed. Last time in 2012, when the Kingfisher shut down, there were ample number of experienced pilots. So why would they hire fresh pilots like us? Now situation has somehow improved, but again at the wrong time. Again, SpiceJet is going to shut down. There is going to be 400 experienced people. They are again going to be in the market. Who is going to recruit us? Another 4 years we should see of unemployment.
Kanwar, do a lot of people, young pilots, feel the same kind of gloom?
The situation does look pessimistic, but I think that I don't think a brand name like SpiceJet, we should just doom it right away. because a lot of us as passengers too have traveled it on for the first time in that company, and we would love to have it going. And I don't think the SpiceJet should be shutting down anytime soon.
So Jitendra Bhargav, no more of these young people who are working over here. Deepak over here hasn't got a job for 6 years. He's still waiting for the booming industry to bless him. What's gone wrong?
You see, I sympathize with the pilots. There is a lot that has gone wrong with the aviation sector. Before I come to them, I must say I strongly disagree with all the suggestions made by Subhash Goyal. What has unfortunately happened is that we have allowed our foreign carriers to dominate our international flights. Like the Jet Etihad example, I can quote one. The moment Jet Airways become a feeder airline for Abu Dhabi, for Etihad Airways, all the jobs also go away with them. It is the Etihad which is going to be taking, because Indian carriers are not going to be adding capacity into the system. So once the policies are wrong and Indian carriers are not economically viable, as they are not, because of high operational cost, price sensitive market, they cannot expand. So unless you make the Indian aviation industry robust.
I'm just going to interrupt you because these young people, they wanted to tell me something. You were telling me about how foreign carriers, their hiring is all wrong. Tell me about that.
Basically, there are two types of ways that you can get into a foreign carrier. First being a cadet program, which some of these major top-notch airlines have. The second one being we get about a couple of thousand hours and we get into the major airlines. Unfortunately, they are not really favoring us, and they are not really actually. It's a simple thing that once you don't have an experience, you don't get the experience to double it. And once you don't have it to back it up, the foreign airlines are just going to shunt you away.
And Deepak, you want to add? Yeah?
Something to say, like these pilot programs, like if I say Cathay Pacific, recently they came out, but it's only for the Hong Kong residents. It's not for the international cadets. So we cannot apply for that. One more thing I want to highlight here, a lot of time this has come that we are bringing reforms that will connect tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
That's right.
But there's nothing has happened. We agree that 7,000 unemployed pilots cannot be consumed by airlines right now. So there has to be something.
It looks really, really grim, but we need to hear more such voices of young people wanting to get into the industry. When we come back after the break, we'll hear from all these people. These are young pilots who couldn't get a job. These are people who are looking to get more jobs. What happens to them? We'll talk to them in just a bit.